So, good morning everyone. I am Christine Joyce Padilla, the first reporter of Natural Law.
In reading Aquinas, we have to consider how we, human beings, are both unique and at the same time participating in the community of the rest of creation. Our presence in the rest of creation does not only mean to interact with creatures that are not human, but that there is also our nature, something that shares in the nature of other beings. Aquinas thus identifies first that there is in our nature, common with all other beings, a desire to preserve one's own being. A makahiya leaf folds inward and protects itself when touched. A cat cowers and then tries to run away when it feels threatened. Similarly, human beings have that natural inclination to preserve their being. For this reason, Aquinas tells us that it is according to the natural law to preserve human life. We can thus say that it would be a violation in the natural law, and therefore unethical to take the life of another. Murder, for instance, would be a clear example of a violation of a natural law. On a controversial note, it seems that taking one's own life would be unacceptable, even in the form of physician-assisted suicide. On a more positive note, we can confidently posit that acts that promote the continuation of life are to be lauded as ethical because they are in line with the natural law. So, dito sa natural law in common with other beings ni Aquinas, alam naman nating lahat na nilikha tayo ng Diyos na pare-pareho. Mapatao man o other living things, we are all God creation. Dito sa natural law in common with other beings, may isa tayong layunin. We have the desire to preserve one's own being. Kailangan nating isaalang-alang na tayo, mga tao, ay parehong natatangi, or we are unique. And at the same time, nakikilahok tayo sa ibang creation. Hindi lamang tayo nakikipag-ugnayan sa mga nilalang na hindi tao, ngunit likas din sa atin na nakikibahagi tayo sa nature ng ibang nilalang or ibang nilikha. Like for example, mag-base na lang tayo dito sa makahiya. So sabi dito, ang makahiya leaf folds inward and protect itself when touched. Di ba yung makahiya kapag hinawakan, napapansin natin na tumitiklop ito kasi pinoprotektahan niya yung sarili niya. Katulad na lang sa ating mga tao, like for example, hinabol tayo ng aso, alangan naman nahayaan nating makagat tayo, di ba? So, syempre, katulad doon sa makahiya kanina, we are trying to do something para ingatan natin ang buhay natin. So, therefore, both human beings and other beings, we all want to keep our own selves alive.
In common with other animals, Aquinas goes on to say that there is an human nature, common with other animals, a desire that has to do with sexual intercourse and the care of one's offspring. As a matter of fact, animals periodically engage in the sexual intercourse at a specific time of it, and this could result in offspring. In human beings, too, that natural inclination to engage in the sexual act and reproduce exists. When animal sexual behavior is reproductively motivated, it is often termed mating or copulation. For most non-human mammals, mating and copulation occur at oestrus, the most fertile period in the mammalian female's reproductive cycle, which increases the chances of successful impregnation, and human sexuality is the way people experience and express themselves sexually. This involves biological, erotic, physical, emotional, social, or spiritual feelings and behavior. The intrinsic connection between the sexual act and fecundity gives rise to a number of notions of what is acceptable and unacceptable in varying degrees of contentiousness. An ethical issue that is hotly contested in some parts of the world is whether abortion is acceptable. From the stance of natural law, the act preventing the emergence of new life will be considered unacceptable. Not so controversial perhaps would be the claims that we could more easily make about how it is good to care for the young. Sinasabi dito na ang isang isyong mainit na pinagtatalunan sa ilang bahagi ng mundo ay ang abortion, kung ito ba ay katanggap-tanggap o hindi. Ayon sa natural na batas, ang intensyonal na pagpatay ay hindi katanggap-tanggap na ang isang taong ang magdesisyon sa magiging kapalaran ng kapwa-tao. Hindi ito gaanong kontrobersyal, marahil ang pag-aangkin na mas madali nating magagawa tungkol sa kung paano ito mabuting pangalagaan ang mga kabataan upang matiyak na sila ay maayos na pinapakain, nasisilong at nakapag-aral. With regard to the sexual act, the moral judgments get more volatile. This argument seems to provide ground for rejecting various forms of contraception since these allow for at the sexual act take place but inhibit procreation. This also seems to justify the claim that any form of sexual act that could to lead to offspring must be considered deviant. One of these is homosexual act. To explain Thomas Wright's certain special genes are said to be against nature. Thus, contrary to sexual intercourse, which is natural to all animals, is an asexual lust, which has received the special name of a natural crime. The question can be raised as to whether all animals naturally engage in heterosexual rather than unisexual or homosexual intercourse, as Aquinas, with the much for rudimentary scientific knowledge of his time, believed. Another question is whether there must be a necessary connection between the act of sexual intercourse and procreation.
Uniquely human. After the first two inclination, Aquinas presents a third reason, which is state that we have an inclination to good according to the nature of our reason. With this, we have a natural inclination to know the truth about God and to live in society. It is of interest that is followed by matters of both an epistemic and a social concern. The examples given to us of what would be in line with this inclination are to shun ignorance and to avoid offending those people with whom one lives. We could surmise on this basis that acts of deception or fraud would be unacceptable to Aquinas. This, as mentioned, is surmise because this is not something we are told directly by Thomas. Aquinas is saying that humans have the capability to know what is right from wrong, what is good from evil, and what must we need to do from what we need not to do. It is natural from us to have this kind of thinking and behavior, and this is what makes us unique. We are capable of following or obeying God's commandments because we know that following His rules is what makes us a real human. Just like following the laws of our country and our society, also, we are capable of it because we believe that it will make the society and our life peaceful and free from evil deeds. Gusto ko lang din i-point out yung sabi ni Aquinas na we have an inclination to good according to the nature of reason. For example, wala nang ibang choice si Jose kundi magnakaw para may pambili siya ng gamot ng nanay niyang may malubhang sakit. Alam niyang mali ito sa batas ng Diyos at komunidad pero wala siyang magawa dahil bata pa lang siya at hindi niya pa kayang magtrabaho. On the other hand, iniisip niya na tama ang kanyang aksyon dahil para ito sa ikabubuti ng kanyang ina. Meron tayong kanya-kanyang rason at standard kung ano ang basehan natin ng tama at mali.
First, we had been presented with these three inclinations as basis for moral valuation. In light of this, we know that preserving the self is good. Contrary to common misconception, we sexual inclination and the sexual act are considered good things, not something to be deplored or dismissed. However, reason is not only another inclination that we have in par with the others. Instead, reason is defining part of human nature. Thomas tells us that there is a priority among the powers of soul, with the intellectual directing and commanding our sensitive and nutritive capacities. What this amounts to is the need to recognize that while our other inclinations are good, as they are in our nature, what it means to be human is precisely to exercise our reason in our consideration of how the whole self should be comported toward the good. I cannot simply say sex is natural, if what I mean by that is that I could just engage in the act in any way I like without thought or care. Instead, we are enjoined to make full use of our reason and determine when the performance of our natural inclination is appropriate. Second, recognizing how being rational is what is proper to man. The apparent vagueness of the third inclination that Aquinas mentions is counterbalanced by the recognition that he is not interested in providing precepts that one would simply unthinkingly follow to say that the human being is rational, is to recognize that we should take up the burden of thinking carefully how a particular act may or may not be a violation of nature. It is to take the trouble to think carefully about how our acts would either contribute to or detract from the common good. For this reason, in making human laws, additions that are not at all problematic for the natural law are possible. At first glance, it may seem like there is nothing natural about obeying traffic rules or paying taxes. However, if it has been decided that these contribute to the common good, then they couldn't, in fact, be proper extension of the natural law. As Aquinas puts it, nothing hinders a change in the natural law by way of addition, since our reason has found and can find many things that benefit individual and communal human life.